Hey YouTube, it's Icy and welcome to the 189th episode of Best Tech Info and Rumors. Alright, to start off, I just wanted to say that in today's episode I have a lot to cover and I'm going to do it in a more condensed manner. So first up, starting right into the news, earlier this week on Tuesday, Apple released iOS 7.1.1 to the general public, which is the successor to the iOS 7.1 Evasion Untethered Jailbreak patching firmware. And like its predecessor, iOS 7.1.1 patches a number of vulnerabilities that Evasion 7 previously exploited to achieve an untethered jailbreak on iOS 7.0 through 7.0.6. So those who update to 7.1.1 will unfortunately lose their ability to jailbreak. Now let me go over some of the changes in iOS 7.1.1 really quick. Taken directly from Apple's over-the-air update notes for the firmware, quote, further improvements to Touch ID fingerprint recognition, fixes a bug that could impact keyboard responsiveness, and fixes an issue when using Bluetooth keyboards with VoiceOver enabled. Now, as I previously mentioned, if you're on an earlier iteration of iOS 7, such as 7.0.6 or even 7.0.4 for example, and you decide to update to iOS 7.1.1, you would regrettably lose your ability to jailbreak until the evaders release their next untethered jailbreak utility, which won't be until after Apple pushes out both iOS 8 and their next round of devices to the general public. As I've stated numerous times both in this series and on my channel in general, the evaders aren't interested in burning through valuable exploits that the team has spent months not only discovering but also researching on such a minor release. They want to make sure that it's justified and they want to be able to jailbreak as many devices as they possibly can on the latest firmware, of course, which will be iOS 8 when they release their next untethered utility. For now, however, if you own an iPhone 4 and you're on iOS 7.1.1, you're interested in jailbreaking, you can follow my updated tutorial on a new version of Geeksnow, which is essentially a tethered jailbreak for the iPhone 4, again on Apple's latest public firmware being 7.1.1. And as I mentioned in the actual jailbreak tutorial itself, the reason why it only functions on the iPhone 4 is because it utilizes GeoHot's 2010 Lime Rain exploit, which essentially relies on a hardware-based vulnerability that Apple has since patched with the release of newer devices. However, Apple can't patch the hardware vulnerability just by updating the firmware. Again, they have to actually push out completely new devices with updated hardware. So that's the reason it only functions on the iPhone 4 with its A4 CPU. Now, it would function on other older A4 based devices as well. However, over time, Apple has phased out said devices with the release of newer firmwares. So they're no longer supported, and the last one to be supported in iOS 7 by Apple is the iPhone 4, and that's the reason why the jailbreak only functions on that older device. In a sense, it's really nothing new. And because Apple patched the Evasion 7 jailbreak with iOS 7.1 and 7.1.1, numerous individuals are suggesting that jailbreaking's dead. Now that happens every year. People claim that jailbreaking's dead and new utilities are released to jailbreak the latest public firmware untethered. So again, that's definitely not what's happening this time around. The evaders are looking to the future. They want to make sure that their work is put to good use and that it will last for some time to come. So again, they need new devices and a new firmware, which will be iOS 8. And Apple is actually planning on demonstrating iOS 8 to the general public and releasing the first beta version of iOS 8 to registered developers in June at their annual WWDC or Worldwide Developers Conference. So with that covered, just be sure to check down below in the more info. I will have links to everything related to jailbreaking that I discussed in this week's episode, including the changelog for iOS 7.1.1, my video that actually goes over the release of the firmware, and my semi-tethered or semi-untethered jailbreak tutorial for the iPhone 4 that again uses GeoHot's 2010 Lime Rain exploit. And now moving on, I wanted to briefly talk about the iPhone 6. So yes, there's a new rumor surrounding the upcoming flagship iPhone from Apple. Apparently, new renderings intended to assist case manufacturers in creating early cases for the device were publicized, and they show a partial antenna system. Now, this is something that I've actually discussed previously. If Apple were to release an all-metal iPhone 6 like rumors have suggested, the device will essentially need a window to allow various signals to pass through. And this rumor suggests that like both the iPhone 5 and the iPhone 5S, the iPhone 6 will be sort of split up into three different sections, with the top and bottom pieces reserved for antenna windows. Now, I personally hope that this doesn't happen and Apple goes another route with their antenna windows, such as what HTC uses on their HTC One, or like what we saw in one of the first iPhone 6 leaks, where it appears to have plastic around certain back portions of the device. And that way it looks streamlined and definitely more high quality. All right, moving on, but still very much related, talking about Apple and their iPhone 5 this time. So apparently certain models will experience issues with the sleep/wake button, having it, quote, stop working intermittently. Now, interestingly, stores will have some iPhone 5 16GB models available as loaners, and customers with affected iPhone 5 models will have to send them in for repair. Now, this next part is taken directly from Apple's recall page. Quote, replacement of the sleep/wake button mechanism is done at an Apple repair center. There are two ways to send your iPhone to the repair center: carry-in or mail-in. The replacement process takes approximately 4 to 6 days from the time your iPhone is received at the repair center until it is returned to you. Your iPhone will be examined prior to any service to verify that it is eligible for this program and is otherwise in working order. And in my opinion, that's Apple doing a recall correctly, especially considering that they'll give you an iPhone 5 replacement while yours is in for service. And although it sounds weird, again, that's definitely great customer service. All right, next up, I wanted to discuss Apple's upcoming rumored iWatch. So apparently Apple and Nike are teaming up on a project of sorts, likely for the highly rumored and much anticipated iWatch. Nike has reportedly scaled back the company's FuelBand hardware efforts, which, as most of you are aware, that's how Nike entered the fitness wearables market. And on Friday, Nike CEO said the following on CNBC. Quote, today we have about 30 million FuelBand users. We're hoping to push that to over 100 million. We have partners that we work with. Obviously, the most viable partner we have is Apple. So this is very exciting. The iWatch has been rumored for quite some time, and I'm actually a really big fan of wearables, at least as far as watches are concerned. As most of you know, I really love the Pebble smartwatch, which I'm currently wearing right now. I wear it pretty much all the time, and I actually created a in-depth review and unboxing video of the Pebble watch. I will have that linked to down below. Again, I really like wearables, and I hope Apple enters the market because they'll definitely innovate. There's no question about that. All right, next I want to talk about something that may come across as extremely obvious. So recently, new reports have suggested that Apple's next generation iPad models will feature Touch ID sensors because references to Touch ID sensors for iPad models were uncovered in iOS 7.1's code. So again, it was inevitable, and Apple's next generation iPad models look like they will feature Apple's Touch ID fingerprint scanning technology. All right, I also wanted to talk about Free App Life version 3.1, my Samsung Galaxy S5 giveaway, and an all-new PlayStation 4 giveaway I'm holding. So last week, Free App Life version 3.1 was released, and it offers a plethora of enhancements to the service. If you have yet to download it, just be sure to navigate to freeapplife.com or bit.ly/getfreeapplife inside of Safari, especially if you're interested in earning paid iOS apps from Apple's App Store for free while simultaneously supporting the developers of said applications. And earlier this week, I created an in-depth video on Free App Life version 3.1, and it acts as a refresher for some who are already familiar with the service, and it also goes over various things and discusses commonly asked questions. So again, I highly recommend checking it out, and I also announced the winner of my Galaxy S5 giveaway in that video, and it was actually put on by Free App Life. And if you didn't win the Samsung Galaxy S5, don't worry, because you will now have a chance to enter to win an all-new Sony PlayStation 4. Again, just be sure to check out that video for details. I'll have a link to below, and also rate this video up and leave a relevant comment down below in the comment section for the PlayStation 4 giveaway. If you don't know what to leave in the comment section, try answering the question of the day, and this time around, I think I'm going to make it related to wearables. So are you interested in seeing Apple create an iWatch? Would you purchase it? And if not, what would Apple have to include in their iWatch to get you to purchase it? Again, just be sure to let me know down below in the comment section or on Jailbreak Tech Info. And if you guys want to be updated more often, such as when I create new videos and cover things like jailbreak topics, just be sure to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, add me one of your circles inside of Google+, and follow me on Instagram at ICUID. Again, links to everything can be found below. And until next time, this is ICU signing out.